Shalom. We are discussing Parashah Kitisa. It has to do with lift up the heads, the appointing and anointing of the people. That's the underlining concept. But it's on face value to take a census and to gather in half a shekel from everyone to contribute for the construction of the tabernacle. But it's also a means of making atonement for the people. Now what's interesting, the half shekels are made of silver, and this silver is used at the bottom stakes of the structure that upholds the outer court framework. So what that implies is that your contribution of half a shekel helped to sustain and uphold the structure of the outer court, which is separating the tabernacle from the wilderness, or the place of light from the place of darkness, or the holy place from the world. So we live in both spaces. If you stand on the perimeter of the outer court as a vav or a peg, which is man, and they look like a vav, these little posts, with your silver stake at the bottom, which is your contribution, you have one side of you facing the darkness on the outside, and the other side you face the inside of the outer court, which is the place that has potential for spiritual growth. If you put it in other terms, you've got one foot in the church and the other foot in the world. And unfortunately, we have to exist, so we have to work, we have to interact. So we are not from this world, but we're in this world, because we decided to be part of the household of Yahweh. So we are higher creations being transformed, or in the process of being transformed, but we also need to interact with the world. So with that said, you can't be too spiritually minded and earthly no good. With that I mean is, you can't sit in the closet, lock yourself up, I won't sin, but you do nothing. To be passive, you basically break all the positive commandments, which are there. For example, love your neighbor. It's something you do. It's an active deed. But do not steal is passive. That's easy to comply with. Just lock yourself in the cupboard. Don't interact with anyone. You'll definitely obey that one. So there's a balance between passive and active commandments. Yahweh wants us to be actively interacting with the world, through your job, through interaction with people, so that we can be his disciples, his ambassadors, to help to bring people into this house. So that's just a bit of a background there on the context of where you fit in and how that connects to half a shekel in the context of this Torah portion. Now what I want to talk about today is the roadmap of leaving Egypt and entering the promised land. And in between the two things, you have the Red Sea, then you have the mountain, then you have the wilderness, then you have the Jordan, and then you have the promised land. On the one end you have a city of Egypt. On the other end you have a city, which is in New Jerusalem. So you can see there's a parallel there. There's a kingdom of darkness, kingdom of light, and in the middle of that we have a mountain and a wilderness. Now the wilderness is this life. Everyone goes through that. The mountain is the opportunity to be elevated, like we discussed yesterday with the shekel. The kuf lamed represents the mountain. The shin on top of the kuf lamed represents the fire on the mountain, and the ability to interact with Yahweh, receiving his word, his truth, and ultimately his character, which is a consuming fire, which translates us into light beings, distributing light through walking in his life, shining his light by obeying his instructions actively, which are the positive commandments. So with that said, some people come to faith, because you can come to faith in Egypt. You accept him as your Lord and Messiah, but now it's still in Egypt, and people do not leave Egypt. That's one type of Christian. Let's call them Christian for no other better word. Passive Christians sitting in Egypt, they're still worldly because they haven't left. They still interact with the system or the religion of Egypt, which is all about me, I. It's all about the ego. And they just claim to fame, I know the name of Messiah, and it's a theoretical conversion process with a lot of knowledge. That doesn't mean anything to anyone, because the real action happens in the wilderness, which is not in the city of Egypt. Then you get the next type of Christian. They've crossed the Red Sea. They did the baptism thing, and now they're facing the mountain. They start studying the word, but they refuse to climb the mountain. What does it mean? The higher you go up the mountain, remember, climbing a mountain is an effort. You fight against gravity in order to be elevated, to get to a higher point of view and see things more clearly. Remember the menorah pattern? Start from the outside, moving in. Wisdom and understanding are the two branches that's the closest to Yahweh. And those two branches are on top of the mountain. They're not down here. Fear and knowledge, they're down here. And wisdom and understanding is when you elevate it and you have a higher point of view of the truth, knowing Yahweh a bit more intimately because you walked in his ways for a long time, gaining a lot of wisdom, knowledge through experience, expressing his commandments with a positive, negative in your life, avoiding the negative and actively doing the positive. Now, the second type of Christian is people who do not cross the Red Sea. They don't believe in the mikvah at all. So they camp just in front of the Red Sea. That's one denomination. Another one. Then you get the people who are the Baptists. They believe in, we believe in the mikvah, baptism, and they preach that. That's their claim to fame. And they build their doctrines around those things, which is good because that's the next step, the next level. Yes, you have to progress to that. But they still stand in front of the foot of the mountain, which is predominantly most believers who tick all the boxes regarding leaving Egypt, crossing the Red Sea, but now they refuse to accept the commandments of Yahweh, which is symbolized by the mountain and the fire on top of the mountain with a voice speaking. So they are now at risk being exposed to the golden calf. Now that's the topic of this Torah portion, the golden calf worship. Now the worship they do it ignorantly and sincerely, but they are sincerely deceived because they call the golden calf Yahweh and then they have a feast unto him. And the high priest, which is the one I trust because he studied for 7 years, for example, he must know and I will follow him because he studied. But the problem is what he studied is a counterfeit model or symbolism of what all the symbolism of the tabernacle encapsulates. So if you can reduce the tabernacle and all the complexity of the tabernacle down to one image. Does it sound familiar? Reducing all the commandments down to one commandment, which is love. So love is basically a golden calf representation of the tabernacle, of the modern tabernacle, that allows everything. Everything goes. As long as you do it in love, you comply morally, and it's positive. It's a positive commandment. And it's also a negative commandment. You will not do harm to your neighbor because love does not do harm. And you'll do positive things to your neighbor. You'll help them because love expressed through positive action. So yes, we tick all the boxes complying to all the commandments, which is the highest commandment, which is love, but it's only one image. Yes, love is the highest commandment, the greatest commandment of them all, because that's the motive that sits behind all of the commandments, but it does not annul the detail or the the function of those other commandments, because they all have a place or a function. It's like building a house. We've got someone to put up gyprock, someone to do the electrical work, someone to do the foundation, all that. And you must do it with good work ethic. So now we say there's only good work ethic. We abolish the electrician, the foundation, the gyprock guy, and the roofing guy. But we have work ethic. Now all of them stand and cluster together with their good work ethic, and they passive. They do not perform their role and their function to build the house. In the same way, if you abolished the functions of what the tabernacle represents, which are the gifts of the Spirit and everything to do with that, including actively doing the commandments, you just have a good motive, but you're passive. It's just like you never left Egypt. Same spirit behind that. So what we need to do is to actively start doing the commandments in order to represent every single symbol within the tabernacle. The brazen altar, the laver, incense, the menorah, the showbread, the Ark of the Covenant, the structures, the colors, the activities within, and the people facilitating those activities. Everything. It's a very complex, detailed, diverse topic that you cannot reduce down to one thing. But religion managed to do that. They jam-packed everything together, squashed it in, vacuum-packed it, and created this lovely golden calf, which everyone is dancing around. The problem is, it's at the foot of the mountain. It's representing the outer court. Yes, you entered through the gate, through Messiah, you accept him, you sacrifice, but now you're just dancing around the calf, and the whole holy place, holy of holies, and the objects within the outer court is being removed and replaced by one thing, which is an elevated golden calf. Which you have the outer court, the people standing around, and then you have a gate which allow you into their doctrine, and then you face their calf, and everyone's got a little interpretation of the calf. Just like, how do you describe an elephant to blind men? One touch the tail, the other one the snout, the other one the ear, and they all describe it differently, and that's where you get the 40,000 different descriptions of what they think Yahweh is all about and worshipping him is all about. It's just another point of view. But now they touch different parts of this golden calf and explain that, and they fight about it, having disputes about the golden calf they collectively created. So that's how silly it is, and we want to remove the golden calf, replace it with a tabernacle. The problem is, the tabernacle does not exist on the left side, which is closer to Egypt, of the mountain. It's on the right side, which is in between the mountain and the promised land. That's where the tabernacle exists, and you have to move over the mountain. You have to climb the mountain, receive the commandments, and then come down the mountain, symbolized by Moshe, in order to enter the tabernacle, and then you will safely travel through this wilderness within the tabernacle structure that will keep you alive until you reach the promised land. So the people who are standing worshiping in front of a golden calf with their little outer court circle, circle is another word. If you translate it from, I don't know which language, it's basically where the word church comes from. It's also the word for circus. It's a circular environment, and that's where the Roman circuses came from. Where they had their spectacular events showing off athletical skills. It's the same principle. It's for entertainment only, to keep the people focused on one thing that will entertain them. So this golden calf is an entertainment. So what does it relates to in our modern culture regarding Christian denominations? I'm not bashing Christians, I'm just exposing the system. People stand on a stage, professional musicians. You can't even worship Yahweh if you're slightly off, if you can't play instrument or you can't sing. They only allow the professionals up there. And then you have the people who are led by those professional people, and it's spectacular, it's really good. And then they adopt everything you need within the entertainment business, which is light, smoke, very good sound, very, very good lyrics, beautiful, beautiful music, and of course the right messages within that. That's basically the themes of what they present. And that is entertaining the people on a weekly basis. And they do not preach the word. They do not preach from the Laver, which is cleansing and washing. They just have motivational teachings to tell you how great you are and all the rights that you have, and that you are entitled for this, that, and the other. And that's packaged in the prosperity doctrine, which is basically the main doctrine of the golden calf worship, which man created, which is just another Egyptian system, and they just moved Egypt to the foot of the mountain. So that's a danger, because it's got a type of truth to it. It's got a type of image of the tabernacle to it. They call it the church. It was basically a tabernacle principle, and people are fooled who do not know, who do not study the scripture, who didn't go through this Torah portion, Kittiseh. They've got no idea, because Kittiseh and everything within it and the whole Torah has been abolished and replaced by one commandment, and only one other book, which is the New Testament, which consists predominantly of the words of Paul. But what they don't realize is that Paul addressed issues within the church or within the assemblies. So we don't have the questions, but we do have the answers. So it's difficult to dissect what Paul was actually saying, what Paul was actually addressing, and people just bend it out of shape because of those gray areas. But if you take all those things back to the foundational truth of the Torah, because Paul was very, very highly educated in the Torah, everything he said makes sense, but within the right context. And then you actually see what he meant. And whatever Paul said, it still makes sense. So even for those who say, oh, now the New Testament has been abolished because I don't believe Paul is a cult and blah, blah, blah. People get off on their little high horses and then they convert to Judaism at the end of the day. That's losing the plot, swinging to the other side. So you're both wrong. And the problem is religion exists within both camps. You get extreme Judaism, which is a religion. It's nothing to do with Yahweh's Torah. Yes, it's got a lot of flavor to it, but the Talmud is volumes and volumes and volumes written that's outperforming the Torah in its context, in its in its quantity of information. And the people learn the Talmud, and then they occasionally reference the Torah. It's all about the Talmud, Rabbi this and Rabbi that and blah, blah, blah. And that's just a religion. On the other side of the pendulum, if you swing it far to the right, you'll get the extreme Christianity, which is only love and motivational speaking and you, I, me. It's all about you. And Yahweh is just the means to make your life happen. And He's not a little idol in your window that you just rub and then, like a genie, and then beautiful things appear. Like the positive thinking cult expect the universe will give this to me. So you just replace the word universe with God, Yahweh, Jesus, whatever. And the same principles that the New Age cult is doing, the Christians are now doing, because that infiltrated the extreme right Christian denominations. So we've got these dangers around us. And the only way to make sense of the truth is to stand solid on the Torah and study everything about the tabernacle, and the tabernacle will filter out all these false religions easy. So that is our framework that allow us to still stand strong, know what the truth is. The truth is clearly defined, but you have to make the effort to study it, and then get rid of your golden calves, your cultural preferences and things on religions and things you learn from your previous culture, because you're just a goyim, someone from the nations who come in, and you've got a lot of clutter, baggage and misconceptions that you're going to put on the table and be part of the confusion. So you need to empty your bag, chuck it all away, and then learn Yahweh's Torah. Number one, that's it. That's the only way to become fully part of His household. So I'll just leave you with those thoughts. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will speak to you soon. We'll probably deal with the 13 attributes of grace of Yahweh tomorrow. We're not going to meet on Saturday because of the big V that's in the midst of us, so we don't want to expose people and expose them to become becoming ill. So that's why I do these sessions a bit more thorough with the slide associated with it, in order to replace the Saturday meetings, teachings. I will send out the back anyway. For those who do not get it, you're welcome to email me or to ask me in the comments in the video, and I'll keep it private. The comments aren't public. I will approve them to become public, so you can put your email address in the comments. It won't be public, and I can add you to the mailing list to email you the full pack of this teaching. I hope you have a lovely day. For those who want to receive these videos as they appear, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and on the top right when you open up YouTube, it will make a little red circle with the numbers in it, and that's where you will see I've got a new notification, there's a new video, and whenever I post a video you'll see it there, so you can follow me as I post them. I try to post them daily so we can keep the Torah portion ticking over, in the case we're not meeting, so everyone can still have the teachings. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will speak to you soon. Shalom.